Welcome back, folks. This is the last video of Pokemon Battle Python tutorial. I may release one more video as a bonus upon request, but if not, I'm planning to end here. And of course, if you create a game like this, you want to add more and more. And, right now we have how many lines? 165 lines. It's a matter of time it reaches 2,000 lines and gets out of control. So we're going to end here on this day. Obviously, if you look at my right-hand side, there are lots of files here. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've been keeping track of what we've been doing each day. And then there's like a bonus if I were to do a bonus. And there's some testing files like temp2 and such. So when you actually create these types of games, you need a solid plan of how you're going to design this game. So I'm talking about what functions are you going to make and what will be the parameters. Those kind of stuff, you need to have a solid plan before even jumping in. So first thing we're going to do today is if you look at our game running loop here, this is what matters. This runs, and all that's on top, those are just part of libraries. So some are offered by Pygame, some are we built them ourselves. So this is, at the end of the day, what matters. If you don't call those functions, it's not going to run. So here, we don't have any of the click recognition. So we need to be able to detect click whenever that occurs. And remember that this happens 60 times per second because the frame rate is 60. Clicking is a part of event. So we have to put it under this loop here. When that event is clicking, Pygame actually offers that function. And that is under Pygame, mouse button down, that is the click. So basically, the game checks for all the events, and if that event happens to be quitting the game, it will stop running. And if mouse left click is detected, we're going to do something. So what we're going to do, so I'm going to create a new function outside rather than putting it here. And I'm going to name it click handler. I didn't build this yet, so there's going to be an underline, but we'll build it right away. Regarding the position of this function that we're going to define, we can define it like here, or up there, or down there. This only takes the parameter for the position of the cursor that's clicked. So it really doesn't matter. But I have a particular feature that I want in this game. And that is, when the game's over, somebody fainted, and I'm going to display, thanks for playing. And then I'm going to display, click anywhere to exit. I want that. So the best position, considering that, will be over here, because I'm going to be touching this variable here. So when you see the final message, I'm going to change this to false so that the game exits out. When it's false, this is not going to run, and it will just quit. So let's write function click handler, define click handler, and this requires the position of the cursor, mouse position, like that. And I want to change this later. I'm going to have a variable that's outside the function. This is not allowed in general. So typically you have to define a new variable here. Let's say I define run like this. Then this is a local variable. This is a global variable. So I want to get access to this one. Then normally you can't. But in Python, if you say global run, if you say that, then that means, hey, I'm going to change the global variable here, although it's outside the function. A new variable that I need is what's called turn. This indicates if it's a player's turn or enemy's turn or game over. So this one, I'm going to make it into a string, and I'm going to set to player because the first turn is always the player. And this must be outside because that I'm going to touch here as well. It cannot just stay in here. So I'm going to define it here. So to get access to that turn the same way, I'm going to say global turn. So this way, I can change the values of these global variables despite the fact that I'm inside a function. And first of all, what does this do? So let's write here. So this either, upon clicking, clears a message, or you press a move. Select a move. So if you press on tackle, it's going to recognize tackle. It has two features under this function. So let's do clearing message first. When do you clear the message? If you go to the message system we built, we have made this at one point. If there's a message, then true. So there's a reason we made this. So coming back down here, so you clear the message when there is a message. When there's no message, you cannot clear. So message system has an active message. If that is the case, if there is any message, you click, and you're going to clear. Message system has a clear function as well. And I'm going to write one more thing. We defined the variable here, turn player, and at one point down there, when it's game over, I'm going to check if either of the Pokemon has fainted. So check for this variable whether if this is game over. So right now, it's player. It starts with player. It never changes, but I'm going to define those things down here. I'm going to put something here. So it will be changed later, but if it's game over, I'm going to stop running the game. So this offers, when you click on the final message, click anywhere to continue, you click, and this will exit the game. So let's put a little comment here so that we can understand. So clears message, and here exits when game is done. And finally, we have to recognize the moves. So select a move. So here I'm going to write else if, or you can do else. I haven't tested this heavily, so if I see any glitch, I would like to see. So I'm going to write else if here. So if it's a player's turn, then we display the buttons, right? And we have to recognize the clicks. So if I write for the first button, if you go up, the first button is tackle. And second, third, fourth, and so on. So let's write button 1. I'm looking at this variable here. Button 1. And each button class will have its clicked function. See, this returns true or false if the clicked position is inside its corresponding rectangle. So it checks for that. So when this is called, and the position is also important, the position of the mouse. So this will be either true or false. If it's true, if the clicked location belongs to that tackle, then what do? You go to moves, you have to execute that move. So down here, then we're going to do tackle dot execute. And tackle execute requires parameters. And if you go up, here's the execute function under class, move. So you need attacker, defender, and the message system you're using. We only have one message system, so we have to put it in here. So what is our Pokemon name? We defined it up there. Players, Pokemon, enemies, Pokemon, those are the variables. So we will write the attacker is the player's Pokemon, and defender is the enemy's Pokemon. And we need the message system. And right after clicking, our turn is finished. So we have to turn this variable into a different state, which is enemy. So it's now enemy's turn. This will be the same for all 4 moves, but it just calls a different function. So button 1 is related to tackle. 2, it's going to be thunder shock. You can structure it, of course, different ways, but for simplicity, I'm going to copy and paste these 4. Button 2 is thunder shock, so I'm going to put that here. And button 3 is related to sword stance. There you go. And button 4 is the berry. So it is actually better to create a variable that links button 1 and tackle separately, but we're just going to keep it this way. We're not going to complicate this script any further. So this is it for the click handler. So again, what this function does is whenever there's a message, it will clear when you click. And when the game is over, I don't know what I wrote here, game is over, you click and it exits. And if it's not game over, it won't run here, then it will go here. You execute a move and you change the turn to enemy. So if you go down here, the click handler is now complete. Oh, I've just noticed that there has to be a bracket here. Without this one, it doesn't call the function accordingly. But at the same time, it won't give you any warning or error or anything. So if you forget this, it may take a long time to troubleshoot your glitch. Now coming down here, our final part of coding will be the game logics. So here we're going to say run game logics. And I would like to have this as a separate function. So I'm going to say this is just the name of the function. So game run. I'm going to say that. And in this system, I have to change that variable. So I'm going to write it here. So this function, in terms of location, it must be below this variable. So here I'm going to say game logics, and I'm going to define, this is game run, so I'm going to say game run. So this is going to be the heart of the game. I mean, the heart of the game is this one itself, but even in here, this is actual turn, switch, all that will be handled. Since this one has to change the turn I'm gonna have to say global turn in this case. The first thing we want to do is when there is a pending message, we have to display that. So for example, welcome to the Pokemon battle, and it's gonna run here. So we didn't quit, and then we're gonna click, that's gonna run, and it's gonna go run this part here. The next thing it's gonna do is welcome to the Pokemon battle. It's going to clear. So the current message is gone. What if there's a next message? So the next message must be set to the current message. And that is achieved by calling the update. So if you call this the next in line, the first message has been cleared. The next message pending will be set to current. And we have to display this. And displaying only applies when there is a message. So we're going to put an if statement here, and we're going to check if there is an active message. So we used this before. So when there is a active message, then we have to show. We're going to actually display it, not just updating. We have to show. So we define this as draw. Now what if there is no message? There's no more message. For example, welcome to the Pokemon battle. And then there's no message. So then it will come here. So then the first thing we have to check is, we have to switch turns, of course. But the most important one is the game over. We have to make the game to end. I don't want to keep attacking after it's fainted. So here I'm going to write for checking for game over. And that's why we need access to this global variable turn here. Let's write when enemies fainted first. So when enemy Pokemon is fainted, how do you check that? You check the HP. You check the HP, and it's going to be 0. But just in case, I'm going to write 0 in case due to unexpected behavior, we may see a negative HP. We don't know. I'm going to write it just like that to be safe. And I don't want this to repeat after fainting, so it will just run once. And to make sure of that, I'm going to set turn. It is not game over state. So this way, it's not going to constantly run the same portion. If this part is missing, then after an enemy Pokemon has fainted, it will always come here, and it will stuck in an infinite loop. So this ensures that this only runs once. So when it's actually game over, then we need to display a message. So I'm just going to copy and paste the adding message here. So enemies Pokemon name here. So the variable is enemy Pokemon name, right? So dot name, like that, has fainted. Yeah, I'm going to display a little bit more message. I can add however many I want. I'm going to say, without referencing, I will say, you have won. And then the final message, I want to say, thanks for playing. And we must do something a little bit similar when we lose. So when we lose, we have to check for our Pokemon. So this is going to follow the same formatting here. So I'm going to copy and paste here. When you copy and paste, make sure all the parameters are correct. So player Pokemon is below 0 or equal to 0, and it's not game over. Then player's Pokemon is going to player's Pokemon's name's gonna display has fainted. In this case, you have lost. And thanks for playing. And after displaying this, we have to change this turn to game over. So this is to prevent this from reoccurring. So we change this to game over so that it only runs once. So there's a typo here. And what happens if it's game over? It will come back here and it will run the click handler and it's going to stop running. If it's not game over, then we have to switch turns in this case. So I'm going to write switch turns. And it's going to check for the player's turn or enemy's turn. So let's write player's turn first. Turn equals player. Then we have to show the buttons. So how do you show the buttons? That has a draw function. It's going to be displayed at the preset location, and all 4 buttons would show up. 3, 4. And if it's enemy's turn, we don't show the buttons. If the turn belongs to enemy, then we can do a lot of things here. Right now, I want to test this game first. So I'm just going to set it to flamethrower. Like each time, Charizard, the opponent, will just do flamethrower each time. It's kind of boring, but I would like to test this and show you how this looks first. And then we're going to refine accordingly. So put all the parameters like that. And then once your opponent chooses a move, which is flamethrower in this case, you have to switch back to the player's turn. Okay, and then lastly, else, the last case, this is going to be when it's game over. So this implies that when it's game over state. And about game over, if I add to the message system, it's never going to run because when it's game over, if I copy and paste here, there's going to be a problem. Let's imagine a scenario where one of the Pokemon has fainted and it's now set to game over. So let's say it ran this line here. It will skip all this because it will run just one of these. And this time it ran that one. So after running this one, this is under game run, so it's right there. So then it will go back here. It's going to go here first. That's the order. And if you go here to click handler, if it's game over, the turn is false. The run is false. Sorry, there was a typo here. So it's not going to run. It's going to quit immediately. So then we don't get to display the message at all. So this is not going to be shown. So instead of putting it in the message system, we have to display it directly because it's not going to show. It just quits way too early. So in this case, we can just draw text. And I'm going to say click anywhere to exit. And since we're just drawing, we need a parameter for the coordinates, 0, 0, 0 for black. And the position, the message, the coordinate is 8750. So I'm going to display it at 8750. There is no colon here. And I'm going to put this up here so that we can easily identify them. And if you run the game now, we can finally test our game. And there's going to be buttons. I would like to display something like what will Raichu do. So briefly coming back here with the buttons, I would like to display a message. And I'm not going to put it into the message system because when I do that, I click once to get rid of the buttons and I have to click twice to get rid of the message. I don't want that. So I want this message to be a little bit like a picture type deal. So I'm going to draw it directly. And here I'm going to say, put a reference because of the name, what will player's Pokemon. So here, player Pokemon name do. And we need a coordinate and color. Color first. It's going to be like that. And the coordinate was 8750. And it seems the game is running well. So I'm going to randomize Charizard's move, not just always Flamethrower. The idea is create a local temporary variable and roll a dice from 1 to 4, and depending on the result, you use a random move. So I'm sure you can do that after going through all this together. And yeah, this will be the randomized move by Charizard. So if we run the game, welcome message displays, tackle, critical works, and Charizard is using something else now. Thundershock, okay, and then healing works, and how about sword stance? Twice, 3 times, tackle, 39 damage. We can see that it clearly went up. 39, it persists. Thundershock, critical 87. Thundershock, 87. 58. Alright, critical hit. 1, thanks for playing, and exits out like intended. Despite that, we couldn't make it to the animation part. So if you look at the first video, the Pokemon actually moves, but this one we didn't get there. But the game works as intended, and we did the basics of the game. One complaint for me is that the timing of the damage. I would like the damage to occur at the same time as this message is displayed. But right now, the damage occurs as soon as I press the button. So you kind of read the message and it seems like, the enemy's HP is it staying the same? It gives you that kind of illusion. So timing is very important, and to do those, we need one more session. And after probably that, we'll probably want more. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna make that bonus video. So if you really enjoyed this, I'll probably upload on YouTube. But if not, we'll stop here. The purpose of this tutorial is basically to understand how computer runs commands on scripts. And of course, if you are getting into serious coding, you probably have to learn a low-level language first. But regardless, I hope this was entertaining and useful and insightful perhaps. So thanks for following along and have a great one.